Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. It's me, Henrrey. Today, we're gonna continue to learn the third chapter of the book, The Way of Life by Kazuo Inamori, to sharpen and improve the mind. Let's get started. Section 1. Why did the Japanese lose their beautiful hearts? Always kind to people and give credit to others. When you are proud, suppress your arrogance. Give priority to others and tolerate with people. Such virtue of humility may have long been lost by Japanese. To be bottom up in society, self-assertion such as I is necessary, but we are now constantly forgetting the beautiful soul from inner self. This is a huge loss to the society of this country. This is one of the main reasons why Japan is becoming more and more difficult to live in. I should not be the only one who holds this view. Indeed, I myself sometimes become proud because of arrogant heart. In the largely unexplored field of precision ceramics, Kyocera has developed many new technologies and new products, and has grown at an astonishing speed. Similarly, KDDI has made incredible development. The people around praise me in meetings and other occasions. I was often invited as a guest of honor, and it was common to give speeches. Therefore, even though I'm a self-disciplined person, at that time I felt that I have put so much effort, achieved such a result, and received such a courtesy is very common. Just when I was proud, I suddenly felt something was not right, so I told myself, no way, and immediately began to self-reflect on myself. Even after I became a Buddhist, I still practice self-reflection. Think about it, there is no inevitability that the abilities I possess and the role I play are my private properties. There is nothing strange or unsuitable for others to own them. Moreover, what I can do so far can be done by others. All of this is a gift from God, and I just make a little extra effort compared with others. I think that any talent of any person can only be a gift from heaven. No, it can be only borrowed from the God. Therefore, no matter how outstanding the talents are, all the results produced belong to me was not only for me. Talents and achievements are not my personal belongings. It should belong to human beings and society. In other words, use your talents for public as the first principle, and use private as the second principle. I think this is the essence of the virtue of humility. However, as the spirit of humility fades, many people in society take this as their personal talents. In particular, leaders should become role models for others. In large-scale companies with own traditions and sales performance, organizational norms and ethical requirements seem to be completely neglected, and scandals are endless. In addition, the bureaucrats who represent the citizen in the public affairs of the country are using their privileges to take advantages from public. The heads, cadres, and bureaucrats of large enterprises have abilities that exceed the ordinary people. But why do they continue to have scandals and malfeasant incidents? This is only because they take their talents as private property, and there is no other reason. They think that the talent they possess is not a gift from heaven, but treated as private thing, not for public interest, but to do their best for their own interests and desires. In Section 2, the morality of leadership is higher than talent. I have said many times before this, the life equation I think about is derived from the multiplication of three factors of mindset, enthusiasm, and ability. The elites involved in scandals all have extraordinary abilities. They have enthusiasm and a sense of mission, and they must have made extraordinary efforts. However, the problems here are from the mindset. The extraordinary ability and enthusiasm they possess failed to play in the right direction. Therefore, not only they make mistakes and harm the society, but they will even put a noose on their neck. The way of thinking mentioned here refers to the attitude to life, philosophy, thought, ethic, and etc., and also refers to the personality that covers all these factors. The virtue of humility can also be counted as one of them. If the personality is distorted and become evil, no matter how great the ability and enthusiasm are, or more capable and enthusiasm, the more negative the result will be. Moreover, to the Japanese at the moment, I think if we compare the personal qualifications and the leadership of a leader, there's a problem with the selection method of a leader. Because the leaders of many organizations are not selected based on personality, but based on talent and ability. People who have achieved good results in civil service examination can take up important positions in government departments or enter elite ranks. All this may be due to the social background of Japan's economic growth dominated by supremacy after war. Instead of attaching importance to the vague factor of personality, it is better to attach importance to the factor that is easy to directly bring results to select our own leaders. This standard of employment has become the dominant trend for a time. In elections, people always involuntarily cast their votes for presidential politicians who can bring benefits to the locality. In other words, people hope to make those talented but unscrupulous people their leaders. It is difficult for us to change this tendency or social trend. The Japanese once also had a thinking about bigger picture way of thinking. Our beloved Mr. Saigo Takamori once said, "Give high morals and praise to those who have done a lot of merits." This means that those who have outstanding achievement will be given monetary rewards, and those who have high personality will put him in high positions. Although this is an old saying more than 100 years ago, it is not old at all, and it is still a very common way of thinking today. In the era of moral collapsing and loss of ethics today, we should remember the meaning of these words even more. The personality of the superior is more important than talent. The more talented people are, the less they should indulge in talents. In other words, something is needed to control the extraordinary ability in order not to develop in the wrong direction. Speaking of ethics, some people may think that this is an old thinking. However, the cultivation of personality should not be new or old. Lu Xingwu, a Chinese thinker in the Ming Dynasty, clearly expressed the same content in his book as below. Ethics, it is the first-class qualification. Being outstanding and powerful is the second-class qualification. Intelligence is the third-class qualification. These three qualifications, in other words, are personality, courage, and ability. Lu Xingwu hoped that who are capable or possess the above three qualifications. If these three qualifications are arranged in order, personality first, courage second, and ability third. Section 3. Self-reflection and personality training. After the war, Japan mostly adopted the third-class intelligence and debating type as leaders. Practical characters with strong ability, eloquence, and rich knowledge are placed as priority, while the first-class figures with personality and prestige were not underestimated, but they were still standing aside. In this way, people without leadership, people who lack of inherent ethics and ethical standards, and lack of personality are placed in leadership positions, which has led to political scandals in recent years. It happens frequently. This is the root cause of the moral decadence in today's society. The leaders of organizations who involve in scandals often hold press conferences to apologize. But when the reporters asked questions, it was difficult to make people feel their sincerity. It was just a perfunctory excuse that did not do it right and strive to never happen again. They just read through the manuscript prepared by others. It sounds like I feel all dogmatism and the sincerity and honesty of the person in charge has not been conveyed at all. Even if they feel panic, conceal the facts, and evade responsibility, we rarely see them take the whole incident seriously. This makes people feel that they do not have a belief and philosophy in them, and even lack of the standard to differentiate between good and evil. If this is the behavior of people who are known as social leaders, it is not difficult to understand that children nowadays do not respect and trust adults. We don't need leaders who only have talent and eloquence, but a good personality based on a clear philosophy, humility, introspection, courage to respect justice, or constantly sharpening one's compassionate heart. In a nutshell, he must be a person who embraces the right way of life. This is the attitude of life. We should stay away from hypocrisy and selfishness. It is a duty of the person to teach a noble way of life. When it comes to working hard to establish correct standard of life, some people may laugh. This is just like in an elementary school moral class. However, isn't it because we adults do not abide by the education we receive in elementary school that cause the current social values to be dropped and ruining people's heart? Now, how many parents can uphold moral education to their children? How many people are far-sighted and strong in personality who can clearly demonstrate and preach ethically to others? Thinking of this, I'm feeling very ashamed. In fact, it is not difficult at all to have the right attitude towards life. It is the most basic morals that our parents taught us when we were children. Not lying, being upright, not deceiving, not greedy. These simple codes of conduct are very important. Section 4. 6 endeavors needed to sharpen up the mind. Of course, it is not just leaders who need to sharpen and improve their minds. Anyone needs to improve their minds in a good direction, not only to be a capable person, but also to be a person with good personality, not only to be a smart person, but also to be a good person. It can be said that this is the purpose of life, the original meaning of life. The so-called life is a process of improving our humanity. So, what does it mean to improve the mind? I think definitely not to reach the state of enlightenment, but at least when you die, your soul will become a little more beautiful than when you were born. It means the soul when death is better than the soul during birth. In other words, it means to suppress the selfishness and impulsive self. The mentality is more peaceful than tolerance, and altruism begins to grow in heart. It is the purpose of our human beings to make our body and mind better. Indeed, in the long history of the universe, life may be only a short period of time. However, I think the meaning and purpose of our life is the value at the end of life is higher than the value at the beginning of life. Furthermore, we found human dignity and the essence of life during the process of striving hard in life. We only live once in life. Each of us will experience all kinds of hardships, troubles, struggles, and experience the joy and happiness. Use these experiences and processes to sharpen the soul. If we can do this, we can say that our life has enough value. So, how can we sharpen the mind and enhance the soul? There are many ways. It can be said that the angle of climbing a mountain is 360 degrees, and there are almost infinite ways. As a guide for strengthening the soul, I sum up the following 6 endeavors based on my own experience, and I share it to people around me. These 6 endeavors are: strive harder than anyone else, study more than anyone, and keep it wholeheartedly. If you have time to complain about your dissatisfaction, you might as well try to move forward and improve, even if it's just a centimeter. Second, be humble, do not be proud. Being humble is an old Chinese saying. A humble heart can bring happiness and purify the soul. Third, self-reflection every day. Check your actions and state of mind every day, whether you only consider your own interests, whether you behave in a humble manner, and etc. Introspect yourself and try to correct yourself. Number 4, appreciate life. As long as you live, you should be happy. Cultivate the heart to be grateful for any small things. Number 5, do good deeds and serve others. We do good deeds and virtues, paying special attention to sympathy, and good deeds and virtue will be rewarded. Number 6, do not dwell on the past. Do not worry, do not be anxious, do not always complain. The meaning of life is constantly haunting our soul. When difficulties and challenges come, face it with courage. Do not forget why did you start it, and strive to do the things you're supposed to. I often talk to myself about these 6 endeavors and practice them deliberately. Put these seemingly ordinary and natural things into practice little by little, until they are integrated into daily life. The important thing is not to frame the famous mottos and hang them above the walls, but to implement them in daily life. Engrave the heart of gratitude in ourselves. Now, the phenomenon of material abundance and emptiness in spiritual is becoming more and more obvious in this era. Among them, the gratefulness mentioned in the 6 endeavors above has become weak. In this period of material abundance, it is necessary to re-examine the heart of gratitude within ourselves. When I was young and people were very poor, I believed that the most important thing in life was to be honest. Be as honest with life and work as possible. Do not cut corners. Work and live earnestly and diligently. This is not rare for Japanese people living in poverty, but it is a moral that blended into the flesh and blood of Japanese people at that time, and it is also a virtue. Soon the Japanese economy ushered in a period of high growth. The society became prosperous and stable. Kyocera Corporation was also on the right track, and the scale was getting bigger and bigger. At this time, I felt so grateful in my heart. I am naturally grateful for the benefits of hard work and honesty. My moral standards in life are gradually consolidated in all these experiences and practices. Looking back, this kind of gratitude makes who I am today. This related to my experience when I was small. My hometown is in Kagoshima. When I was 4 or 5 years old, my father used to take me to worship the hidden Buddha. The followers kept it secretly and followed a religious habit which was still practiced when I was young. Along with several other family groups, I followed my father, borrowing the twilight of the lantern to climb the deep mountain road. Along the way, everyone was silent, immersed in a horrible and mystery atmosphere, and I was also struggling to follow my father as a child. The end of it was a family. After entering, there was a monk and he was wearing a robe and chanting. The room was very dark, So we sat down and melted into darkness. The children were sitting behind the monk, quietly listening to their whispering scriptures. After reading the scriptures, we worshipped the Buddha one by one. At that time, the monk greeted to the children. Some children were asked to come again, and the monk said to me, "You don't need to come again, and today's visit is enough." He went on to say, "From now on, you will just silently recite Namo, Namo, thank you, every day to express gratitude to the Buddha. From now on, you just need to do this." Then he told my father that he does not need to come here anymore. It seemed that I have passed the Buddha test. I felt proud and happy as I passed the exam or was approved by exemption. For me, this was an impressive experience and also the first religious experience. The importance of gratitude taught to me at that time seemed to build my spiritual foundation. And, in fact, even today, whenever something big happens, words of gratitude like Namo, Namo, thank you, blurred out unconsciously or sounded deep in my ears. When I visited European churches and other places, I was touched by its solemnity, and unconsciously I would say this sentence: "This is a prayer that transcends the religions and integrated into my flesh and blood." The mantra is also deeply rooted in my heart. Section 5. Always be ready to say thank you. Namo, Namo, thank you. It's a prayer that is easy for children to remember. It is also a sentence that has become the foundation of my faith. And at the same time, it is a sentence that cultivates my heart of gratitude. I'd often recite this sentence. No matter who or what it is, during the good and bad times, I would also say thank you. Strive to be as correct as possible in life. Good things and bad things are like two strands of twine twisted together. The intertwining of good things and bad things is called life. Therefore, whether it is a good thing or a bad thing, what remains unchanged is a life full of gratitude and faith. I told myself in my heart that this kind of practice improves our minds and will also be the first step to open the door to luck. However, it is to be easier to say than done. Whether it is sunny or rainy, persevering in gratitude is the hardest practice in life. For example, when someone is facing difficulty, although you tell him that this is also a practice and be grateful, it is difficult for him to do it. On the flip side, he tends to think, why is it only me so unlucky? Therefore, it should be a human nature to complain and hate. So, when things go well, when good luck comes, can people feel grateful? People would say, great, great, and taking it for granted. There are even people who hope to be more and more. People unknowingly forget the spirit of gratitude, which eventually leads to a distance from happiness. Therefore, it is necessary to instill a heart of gratitude no matter what happens. It is important to get yourself to be grateful and be prepared to say thank you at all times. If you are in difficulty, thank you for the opportunity to sharpen it. If you are in good luck, you should also express your gratitude. Thank you. Thank you very much. At least always consciously prepare a heart of gratitude in you. We can also think of this way. Gratitude does come from satisfaction, and dissatisfaction never breeds gratitude. But what exactly are satisfaction and dissatisfaction? Can you simply say that more is satisfied and less is not satisfied? It may be so, materially. However, for the same thing, some people are not satisfied and others are satisfied. Even if there are not many things, some people are satisfied. And some people are not satisfied no matter how much they get. Some people are dissatisfied no matter what, while others are satisfied at all times. So after all, it is a question of mentality. No matter what the material conditions are, if the person has a gratitude heart, he can taste the feeling of satisfaction. Section 6. When you are happy, keep it a frank attitude. If gratitude is the inducement of happiness, then the frank attitude could be the mother of improvement. Even if it is harsh, we have to listen to it with humility and immediately correct the things that should be changed today, and do not delay it until tomorrow. This kind of frank attitude can improve our ability and improve our minds. It is Konosuke Matsushita who discussed the importance of this frank heart. Mr. Matsushita thought that he is low educated. He'd always ask others for advice. He has implemented the heart of lifelong learning apprentice. I think this is the true greatness of Matsushita. Of course, the so-called frankness is not to let you go to obey blindly. The so-called frank heart refers to the courage to admit one's own shortcomings, listen to others' opinions, and keep them in mind. When I started research as a researcher, whenever I concentrated on doing an experiment and came up with expected results, I'd always cheer. It's great and dance with joy. However, my assistant watched me coldly. There was a time I jumped up happily and said to my assistant, "You should be happy too." He gave me an indifferent expression and spit out a word, "How rash you are. You're always extremely happy for a small success." A man jumping for joy may be good once or twice in his life. Being happy at every turn like you will only make people feel reckless. The moment I heard this, I felt a scoop of cold water being splashed all over my body. However, I quickly recovered my demeanor and said to him, "You are right, but I think that when results are achieved, even if the results are small, it is better to be happy. The happiness and gratitude are the motivation to continue to engage in practical research and diligent work." This sentence is a bit bitter, but it clearly reflects my life guidelines and philosophy. No matter how small the things are, we must treat it with joy when it is supposed to be happy. Unintentionally, I told my assistant the importance of frankness. Speaking of frankness, we must not forget that daily introspection is also a practice of sharpening the mind, and it is also a derivative of frankness. Complacency, arrogance, negligence. When we discover that we have these wrong words and deeds, we look for opportunities to reflect on ourselves and strengthen the self-discipline. Only by introspecting oneself tirelessly every day, the soul can be purified. God, I'm sorry. In fact, I'd often speak of introspective things aloud. When I was a little proud or unwell, as soon as I returned home or returned to the hotel, I would reflect on it. God, I'm sorry for the attitude just now. Please forgive me. And warn myself not to repeat it. Because I said it out loud like a child, some people who hear it may think I'm a little crazy. So when I'm alone and then say introspective words in a frank manner. However, the next day, with a humble attitude, I started over again from the beginning as an apprentice of life. God, I'm sorry. Namo, Namo, thank you can be said to be two catchphrases of mine. A few short sentences represent my feelings of reflection and gratitude. It is my simple and clear guide to my life. Section 7. Leo Tolstoy also lamented. Buddhist story describe humans' greediness. A heart of gratitude, a heart of introspection, and staying away from excess desire are necessary to improve our humanity. Greed is actually very difficult to deal with. It takes root deep in us and cannibalizes our hearts. It is the virus that makes us embark on the wrong path of life. It is said that Gautama Buddha used fables to explain the truth of human beings entangled with desires as follows. It's a bit long, but let's introduce it. One day in the late autumn, among the dead trees, a passerby hurried to home. After a quick glance, there were a lot of white things scattered under his feet. Take a closer look. It turned out to be human bones. Why are there human bones here? It was creepy and incredible. He continued on, and a roaring tiger came towards him. The passerby was shocked. It turned out that it was the bones of the poor fellows travelers who were eaten by this tiger. He turned around in a hurry and ran away quickly towards the road where he came. However, it seemed that he was lost. He unexpectedly came to the cliff. Below the cliff was the rough sea and the tiger behind. In a dilemma, passerby climbed up the pine tree growing on the edge of the cliff. However, the tiger also opened his terrifying big claws and began to climb the pine tree. Now it's really over. He saw the rattan hanging from the branch in front of him. When he was in despair, he slipped down the rattan. However, the cane was broken in the middle, and passerby was suspended in the air and was not allowed to go up and down. On the above, the tiger licked his tongue, staring at him. Looking down again, there were 3 red, black, and blue dragons on the turbulent sea waiting to eat him. There was a squeaking sound from above, and when he looked up, 2 black and white mice were gnawing at the roots of the cane. Going up like this, the rattan was bitten by the rat's teeth, and passerby had to fall towards the dragon with his mouth open wide. In this situation, he thought that the mice should be driven away first, and tried to shake the cane. So something warm fell on the face. He licked it. It was sweet honey. It turned out that there's a bee nest at the root of the rattan, and honey will fall off every time it shakes. He began to like the taste of honey like nectar. As a result, he even forgot that he was in danger, even though he was in a danger between dragons and tiger for food, and the only life-saving cane was being eaten by rats. He actively shot the life-saving root time and time again, intoxicated by the sweetness of honey. Gautama Buddha said this is the true face of greedy human beings. In the crisis situation that is forced to desperate, we still can't help but lick the honey. This is the weakness of our human beings. The great Russian writer Tolstoy exclaimed that after hearing this fable, there is no such thing as expressing the depth of human desires more vividly. In this story, the tiger means death or illness. The pine tree represents the status, property, and reputation in the world, and the black and white mice represent the time of day and night. People are constantly threatened and chased by death, but they are still attached to life. However, life is just like a cane, unreliable and unpredictable. The rattans wear away with the passage of time. Year after year, we are getting closer and closer to death that seems to have escaped. But even if we shorten our lifespan, we still want to get honey. People are bound to endless greediness. This is the truth about the people Gautama Buddha wanted to tell us. That's all for the sharing today. If you find values and like this video, please consider to hit the subscribe button and share. Most importantly, leave your message here. Let me know what you think. I would love to read the comments and reply to your comment. I hope to see you in the next video.